Hold on. Tell us when, babe. You good?
Oh, we can go now. Okay. Okay, so welcome back to Joyous Jory and the extra large medium. The reason we wanted to talk about the holidays is because I know that it gets really tricky because it's like, especially Thanksgiving, you're supposed to be grateful for all of these things and you're missing an important part of the things that you're grateful for. And especially for a parent, I'm assuming that would be excruciatingly hard because it's like you have all your kids there and all your grandbabies there and life is good and you're missing a few very important people. Well, because Jory, it's not just your son. You're missing your mom and
My mom and
Bruce and
yeah, and then Zachary. I notice he goes through some emotions at this time too because
Does
it's
he
like
really?
it's crazy that you wouldn't think that it affects kids, but it does. Like they know, you know what I mean?
well, because
I
it's
can
such
just
a
tell
family thing.
in his face and sometimes the way he reacts to stuff. I'm like, okay, we already know what day's today. We're getting close to the holidays, so he'll get kind of cranky and touchy, and that's just
When did Bruce pass?
July. Crap, I can never remember the day. He's been gone 7 years this year, I think.
Okay, so little backstory.
17.
Bruce is so Jory's son Zachary. Bruce is Zachary's dad, and he passed when. Oh gosh, so he was what, 7 when he passed?
No, he was about 5 years old.
Wait, how old is Zach now?
He's 13. He'll be 14.
I was gonna say I thought he was 14, so he was 5, 6, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he was super young
and Zach has also had his grandmother pass and then 2 brothers pass away.
Yep.
One was Bruce's other son, passed as an infant, and then Sito, Jory's son, passed when he was 20.
He was 18. He was going to be 19. He was 2 days shy.
Why did I think he was 20? Oh, because 2s.
Yep. Maybe it could be the 2s. I don't know. But he was 2 days shy of his 19th birthday.
Wow. For some reason, I thought he was closer to 20.
No.
So, anyways, I told you I got to do a reading with him the other day, right? Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That made my day.
Yeah, it was. Of course, he popped through, and I was like, "Is this Sito? Are you freaking kidding me right now?"
And you said he was
hilarious.
dancing, and
He came through dancing. Yeah, but doing stupid dance, like hip hop dances, like you know how all the kids do, like the. Yeah, it was hilarious. Anyways, and there was a reason he was doing it, come to find out. So it's quite fun.
he's a goofball.
Anyways, so more about Zach. So how have you noticed as he's gotten older that maybe the grieving around the holidays has become a little more so, or has it gotten a little better?
I think it's gotten a little, how do you say it? Accepting for him. Like, okay, this is how life is. But I think it's still, I don't know. Because even with me, I can shut my emotions off and be like, no, we're not doing it. And then the holidays roll around, you just feel kind of in the dumps a little bit. Yeah. Or you go numb or you're super emotional. I don't know. The holidays are just hard. That's like the hardest. I tell everybody, the holidays are going to be hard.
Is it harder than the actual passing date?
I think for me, I think that first year it was hard, but I felt like the second year was harder. As you go, sometimes for me, it seems like it gets harder.
I've heard that. Because and this is what I'm wondering. So I'm wondering this from my perspective. Does it get harder because you feel like you're losing touch more? Like not that you're losing touch, but those memories become less clear. Does that make any sense? Like I remember my father clearly. Do I remember his voice after 20 some odd years? No, I don't. I heard it on a cassette, or not a cassette. My mom had taken a bunch of old videos that he did up at the ranch and converted them to DVDs for us one year for Christmas. And I was listening to him, and hearing my dad's voice just was like,
yes.
Like it takes your breath away. And I had not heard it in so long that it was just crazy. So is it that it just becomes like, instead of such a crisp, clear memory, it becomes more of like a faded memory?
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess I'm trying to figure out how to explain that.
That makes sense what you're saying. I'm trying to think of how I could explain it from my end. Because it's like as the years go on, when they're not there, it's like reality. It's like reality keeps hitting you. Like they're really not coming back. They're really not going to be here again.
Like
They're
that
really
was
not.
it.
Yeah, that was it. Like another holiday where they're really not just going to show up and be here. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Walk
Yeah.
through the door and be like, hey, you know. It's. I think that's what it is. It's just reality just
Keeps hitting you.
hits every year.
Well, and especially as mom,
That's for
because
me. I think people are different. People feel different. Maybe it gets a little easier, but for me,
no,
sometimes
I've
I
actually
feel
heard.
like, yeah, I feel like it gets worse every year.
I've heard the first year was actually easier than the second year. And
I
because
was
everyone always
numb.
says, get through the first year and you'll be okay. And then I've heard the second year was way
Not true.
worse.
Not true.
I think it honestly takes quite a few years before it just becomes the new normal. Does that make any sense? Because you think about it, you had to go 20 or 18 years with him being one way, and you're only on year 3 going on 4.
It'll be 4 years.
Yeah, you're year 3 going on 4. And so it's going to take a while for that to be the new norm. But what was I was going to ask you something I can't remember, but I was going to say no. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
Like, I know with my mom's side of the family, with my nonna, she made a comment recently, you know, she's like, the family's just getting smaller and smaller. And she's getting heartbroken. She's just not wanting to really do anything anymore. She's like, I just feel like she lost my mom, my uncle, my aunt passed away.
I was going to say
you
your
know?
aunt,
So
her
she's
daughter.
She's lost kids. Like, and she made that comment. It just broke my heart because it's real. Like, our family's getting smaller, you know? So she doesn't even really want to do much. And I don't know. Just stuff like that. It's just reality. And it sucks, you know?
That would be hard because it.
So for her, I think it just gets harder every year because it's like boom, 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 you know?
How old is she now?
You know, I don't even know how she is. I don't know.
She
really
looks
how
dang
she is.
good. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
The woman looks
She's
amazing.
getting old, but she does look great, and she keeps moving. She works. She still works all the time. There was a point she was working every day of the week because she has to keep her mind busy. She always tells me I do it because I keep my mind busy. Because she lives by herself. If she stays home, her mind just goes and she cries. She's like, all I do is cry. And
She's
so
got to be in
just
her
gotta-
80s, isn't
yeah,
she?
She's probably about there. I'll have to find out.
Yeah, because the woman looks amazing. But I don't know. Watching you, though, and watching your grandma, you guys give me hope as to, I know it's not going to be easy. I know it's not going to be easy having somebody pass. I have a lot of people come to me that are heartbroken, but getting to see, and it's kind of shitty because on one hand, I see you persevere, and on the other hand, I'm like, I see you persevere because you don't have a choice.
Yep.
Does that make any sense? So what are you going to do? Just give up? You don't get to give up. You know what I mean? So I think it's that bittersweet of life going on, but it's not going the way you planned, but it's still going on. And I think it's inspiring to watch, though, in a way. And so for me, that's a big deal. So okay. So which one's the hardest holiday, and how do you cope with it?
I think Christmas.
Christmas was harder.
Was the harder one, yeah. Because I feel like I don't know how to explain that one. Christmas is a more, because you have Christmas Eve and you have Christmas. As my kids were growing up, me and their dad would always split the holidays. It'd be either Christmas Eve or Christmas. But that's the big holiday I think people spend together. is
Yeah, I
Christmas.
think so too.
Thanksgiving too, and that is a big holiday too, and that's a hard one. But I think Christmas is absolutely the hardest for me.
So what do you do to help keep Cito alive?
I'll just try to think of stuff like when he was a baby or as he was growing up, you know, things we did, what he enjoyed. And just, there was one Christmas that I'll always remember that him and Matthew got an Xbox that year. And the looks on their faces, they were jumping up, screaming, happy, jumping for joy. And I think that's one of the big, big, big memories I have of him on Christmas. He was just so happy.
So ecstatic.
So freaking ecstatic. It's crazy how something like that small can make somebody so excited and happy.
I was going to say, men.
He's all,
you know?
well, I know. But there is this saying that I posted, and my Nana's 82, by the way.
She looks amazing.
Yeah,
the
she
woman's
does. She looks
amazing.
great. There is this thing that I post every year, and it's for Thanksgiving and Christmas, like the Thanksgiving in heaven, what do? They come down to earth to spend it with you. So leave them a seat, just one empty chair. You may not see them, but they will be there. So I always say that in the mornings of the holidays.
I love that.
I'll save you a seat. In my mind, I tell my mom and everybody,
So have you actually saved a physical seat,
Oh,
or is it
there's
just
plenty of room.
You're like, no, trust me, he can. Oh, you don't do like the whole table thing. We don't either. We wear PJs and we're all sitting around.
Everybody just sits around anyway.
Grabs a plate.
You know where you sit. You know where you're gonna sit.
You do you, Scotty P. Wherever you want to sit.
But in the mornings, I just remind myself that they have the best seat in the house now. They can be everywhere.
Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that.
That's one thing that I do tell myself. Well,
They have the
can
best
see
seat.
everything. Best seat in the house. They can be at all kinds of places at once.
Oh yeah.
You know?
People ask me that too. They'll be like, so how is a soul? I forget. Okay, so I forget that I know these things, right? And I forget that I know these things, and then I forget that people don't know these things. Like
So you're talking to
it's
them, you're like,
crazy.
you should know.
I know. Like people ask me questions, and I'm like, oh wait, you mean that's not common knowledge? Like
Yeah,
people don't
understand.
understand that aspect of heaven, and I think it's because I was born this way, and so it's stuff that's been taught to me throughout my whole life. So for me, it's just kind of common, like it's something that was just shown to me from a very early age. So I forget that people don't have that same understanding, and that's why people seek out mediums or spiritual, help and stuff like that, is because so this is totally off topic, but it's not. It all kind of correlates to it. Being born with a God-given gift is so different than just seeking out spirituality.
Right.
Because when you're born with this God-given gift, it's innately in you. So it's like a compass. Does that make any sense? Whereas when someone desires to be on that spiritual realm, they can be misguided by other people. They can be, I had a friend message me. This is totally off topic, but I swear it actually does tie together.
It's fine.
I had a friend message me and she said, my sister is going to school to be a medium. Is that such a thing? And I was like, well, first off, I mean, I guess they can call it a school for mediumship, but the problem is heaven is not teaching. You're having man teach at that point.
I didn't
And
know
once
that
you
existed.
have,
That's crazy.
I didn't either. I've heard of other people teaching themselves and going to spiritual schools and things like that. But to actually go to school for mediumship for me was like, what? You're having man teach you something that heaven has taught people that are born with that gift. So it can't be misguided. Does that make any sense? I innately know, ooh, no, that's not right. Nope. Whereas when you're being taught that, you take whatever these people say and you listen to it. So the reason, and I don't know how I got off on this tangent, but to be able to help people with what I've learned from heaven and how to get through things like the holidays and things like that, it's still so different from my end than it is from yours. Because again, you're having this perspective from a parent and a daughter and all of this, and I'm having this perspective from I get to see them.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just so different to try to honor them, and I don't know. I guess that's why sometimes I have to stop and ask, okay, so what is it like for you? Because I see Sito all the time, and he's always so happy. He's he's a smart ass. He just is funny. He's just a good kid, and he's always laughing, and he's always full of just, I don't know, ways to make me laugh. And so for me, I see happy-go-lucky Sito and feisty Janie.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So that's why I think it's important to have these two perspectives, because I can see how we never have to live without them, but I can also see where you guys are having to learn to live with them in a completely different way. And that's where the two kind of collide, where I want to get this podcast where we can really help people understand that, are you going to miss them? Yeah. Does it suck? Yeah, it sucks big time. But at the same time, there's got to be a way to live with them
Yep.
in this whole crazy
And
chaos that we call life.
like I said, those sayings for Thanksgiving and Christmas, I always run those through my head, and I wake up and I be like, in my mind, I'm like, I'll save you a seat, just so they know, you know. But
Well,
I know
and you're
they're-
talking to him.
And the thing about with me, the first year he was gone, the first holidays, I didn't want to do anything. I just kind of gave up on the holidays. I didn't
I
want to
think
do
that's
Christmas.
very normal.
I didn't want to do Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The second year, same thing. It's kind of like you feel like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and how do you
But I
celebrate
think
with one
the
missing?
past 2 years, I've just kind of told myself, you know, people are like, "We'll do it for your kids," and da da da. And I get that. So that did kind of. I'm like, you know, I do have little ones still. I need to try to, because one thing I try to teach my kids is life goes on even though it sucks. Like you still have to keep going, and you know things will get to not completely normal ever. Nothing will ever be normal again. But and then I think,
Not the old normal.
yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, I don't really go to the cemetery. I don't like going out there.
I don't think you
just
need to.
Once in a while. But sometimes I do feel like I need to, but most of the time I don't. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Sometimes I feel the need to go. But, like, we got stuff, like, when the holidays come, sometimes it's nice, like, especially Christmas. I'll be like, oh, I want to put this at the cemetery for Cito. Or,
Yeah.
And he got stuff for his dad. I got stuff for Cito this year. And I think that's a good feeling to me to know, hey, you know, I went to say hi to them even though I know they're with me all the time, but
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying? It's a different.
Well, it's a place to honor them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
To show your human side.
So as far as the holidays, I feel like that's making him know. I know he's there, but we also still want you here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As part of the holidays. So, yeah.
So you honor him by the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, too, the important thing that maybe, to me anyways, because I'm a big believer in telling yourself whatever you manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll call it manifesting. But even when something is crappy, you have to try and find the good in it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And because if not, I've heard all too many people, something crappy happens and they focus on that crappy, and then something even crappier happens, and then they're focused on that crappy, and then it just snowballs into this crap fest. You know what I mean? And I love that you wake up and instead of saying, oh my God, he's not here, this is horrible, how am I going to get through this? Instead of saying those things to yourself, because you already know that.
Yep.
You know it's hard. But instead of saying that, you say, hey guys, I'm saving a seat for you. You're manifesting that they're going to be there. And that, I don't mean physically,
Right.
but you're manifesting that they're going to be there. And so what does that do? That opens you up to being able to feel them.
Because I'm acknowledging it.
Exactly. Yeah. Instead of saying, oh, I have to do this again. My life sucks. This is horrible. And I didn't get all the stuff I needed at the store. And so now this is bad. And it all because I don't have my kid here. And not saying that any of that's wrong. I'm not saying that when people do that, it's wrong, but it sure does not help.
Right.
And so I love that you wake up and you instantly manifest that they will be there. You have saved them a seat, and it's going to be a day with them and not a day without them.
That's my way to kind of flip it.
You flip the
The
script.
script a little bit.
Yeah.
For me, that's what I do. But I do get, when it gets closer to Christmas, I do start feeling a little bit of anger and sadness, which I think is normal, but I try
Very.
to redirect myself real quick because I don't want to be angry during the holidays, you know? That's not angry at all.
Do
I
you
just don't
ever
like it.
let yourself have those moments though?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Because like the last time I said, it's okay to not be okay. That's something I've learned. You can't, people are like, you're so strong. And I still people see me as that, but sometimes you just get tired of
Being
being strong because
Yeah.
you're like, okay, this is my time to fall apart. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it, you know? And, but I think like everything that's happened to me this last year, like with him and everything, that's helped a little bit too. Like
Who's with him?
Skylar.
Yes. Jory has
That
met
man right there.
the best man for Jory. Loved them to pieces.
But he came along and like, I've always told people like nobody's ever going to fill that void of Cito being gone, but it helps.
Oh, yeah.
It helps a little bit.
Not
you
to
know?
have to be alone. Remember?
Not to
Okay.
have to be alone.
I knew you were going to find a Skylar because
This girl.
she kept dating, and because So, okay, I never went through loss, right? Like that. I went through loss of my dad, and we'll go into that another time. But I never went through having a child pass, plus a parent pass, plus an ex pass who was also the father of a child. And I mean, there's like all of these different things that have happened to you. And so I never had that exact same thing happen, but I did get divorced. And after divorce, I just wanted someone to love me. I wanted, because I was having the hardest time loving myself in that moment. Like it was hell. I just wanted someone to love me, you know? And so what do? You date all the wrong men, you know, the ones that say the right things, but do the wrong things and treat you in one way, but then are doing things behind your back or never found the time for you. You know what I mean? Like that was I like to show people how I feel by being there for them, showing up or doing things. And I could never find someone who could find the same amount of time for me or would, you know, show up in the way that I needed. And Jory also went through hell. And she kept dating these men, and we'll leave it at that. And it's funny because Jory would be like, he's not doing this or this happened. And Janie, her mom, okay, so her mom is just feisty as all get out, right? She's the sweetest thing, feisty as all get out. And Janie literally every time would go, tell Jory, you're welcome. I took the trash out. And Cito and Jory, you're welcome. I took the trash out. Like every time. And I'd be like, your mom just says you're welcome. She took the trash out again. And then one of the last times, because this was a guy you had tried like 3 different times to stay with, and he just was not given the same energy and wasn't a bad guy, just was not
for me.
No, definitely not for you. And I didn't even know that you guys had gotten back together. And didn't your mom come through and she was like, I can't keep taking the trash out for you, Jory. I'm tired of taking the trash out, Jory. You've got to take the trash out once too. And come to find out, Jory had gotten back together with that guy and they ended up breaking up the next day or something like that anyways. But Janie knew. And I told Jory would say, I don't know if I'm ever going to find someone. And I'd say, your mom says you are. You just have to be patient.
I didn't have the patience. I did not have patience.
I kept telling her, I'm like, this is not the one. Your mom keeps saying she's taking the trash out. Your son keeps saying. You will find him, I promise. Just be patient. Your mom and Janie would come through. It was always Janie. Just tell her to be patient. Tell her to have trust in her mama. Tell her to be patient. And then she met Skylar. And it's funny because you had a couple dates that weekend, didn't you? You were like, I'm just going to go out on dates with guys that I would normally never go out with. And I'm not going to have expectations. I'm just going to do it. And I was like, do it, because I thought I wanted a cowboy. Mm-hmm. Right? And I got me a 60-year-old biker. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like polar opposites. And you were like, oh, I'm just forget it. I'm going to go out. I'm just going to. And the other guy that you were supposed to go out with canceled, didn't he? And Skylar, what happened? I can't remember.
Okay, well.
Is this Skylar just now hearing about all this?
No.
Sorry. Oh, okay. I'm like,
so.
Snap. Sorry, Skylar.
We're pretty much an open book.
Yeah, I figured you two were pretty much open.
Because we met on Facebook. We talked. We clicked very well. We were supposed to go on a date. I canceled.
That's what it was. You canceled.
Because I freaked out because I'm like, this guy's he's too nice. There's no way that this guy's this nice and he's real and he's probably just going to be like all the other ones.
I told you to go out with him, didn't I?
She pushed me. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, call him back and tell him you're going on a date.
And I was like, because at first I was like, oh my God, this guy's super nice and I'm going to be totally open-minded. That was my problem. I wasn't open-minded to other things. And I've heard, sometimes you have to go out of the box and not just keep going for the same
mold
you're going for. So yeah, and then stuff happened. We ended up talking again, and ever since then, inseparable, been together, and so I just feel like he was perfect for me, and I knew my mom and Cito 100% already knew.
Well, okay, and how did you know? What happened when you pulled up to pick him up one time?
So we were talking. Well, the day I reached out to him after I canceled the date, it was actually his dad's birthday. So that was already a coincidence. I didn't know his dad had passed. I knew nothing about that. And that day.
Oh, his dad passed before you guys got together?
Yeah, January. So we got together in July. We messaged in June. So his dad had just recently passed that January. The day I reached out to him, I felt a big push like, okay, you've got to reach out, see how he's doing. And I'm like, I told my coworker, I was like, I feel like I need a message, but most of the time I don't like to message. If
Guys
it's done,
first.
it's done.
Yeah.
If it's done, it's done. I just walk away from it, just leave it be. But something pushed and pushed and pushed. And
That would be his dad.
That's what I tell him.
That would be his dad, because his
100%.
dad is also ornery. So I've done a reading with his dad, unbeknownst knowing it was Skylar's. I did not know it was Skylar's dad. It was Skylar's sister. I did a reading for. Anyways, go ahead.
So yeah, and come to find out that day, that push I was getting was just, it was crazy. I can't even explain the push.
Oh, trust me, I get
getting.
it. I'm all girl.
And
I get it.
I get it. So come to find out that was actually his dad's birthday. And then we were going to go. I was going to go. He was going to make me dinner. I asked him which apartment he lived in, and his apartment number is 22. So
Which 2 is a big number
big
for
number
Jory and
for us.
recognizing her son.
Yep.
For a long time, though, 2 was a bad number because he passed on 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
And so forever, she hated 2. Like anytime she'd see 2s, she thought it was a bad omen. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. I think your son is trying to tell you, because she would see it on paperwork. And it was always 2s, 222. And she's like, Andrea.
My mom also passed on the 22nd. So
Oh,
that's the big
geez.
thing, too.
That's right. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
the 22nd and the 22. So it was just all so weird.
She thought it was a bad omen. And I'm like, it's not a bad omen. I promise you. I think your loved ones are trying to, like you said, flip the script so that you don't dread 2s. You actually look forward to them. And now that's her lucky number.
And
Pulled
then
up
we
to
got
his house
together and we said we're team 22. That's what we always say, just because that's like our number. And
You
that's just
guys
our
need
thing.
you need shirts
That's
made.
what I tell him. We should get shirts made.
Team 22.
Team 22.
We have shirts.
We have shirts.
Diamondback shirts, actually. We got some Diamondback shirts
Oh,
for
shut
the game.
up. Did you
With
really?
Dix and his last name on the back and then 22.
Shut up.
Yeah, we went to the Diamondbacks game.
Did you both get it? Mm-hmm. No way.
So we thought that was the coolest thing ever.
That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah.
How did you just happen to get what? Did you have them made?
Yeah. Well, I customized ordered mine on the
Oh, okay. I was
website.
going to say they were selling them there at that's crazy.
We got them customized. And
I love that.
And something that's really crazy, too, another coincidence, is his last name is the same as Zachary's dad's last name, but they're just spelled different.
Okay, what did we have? We had a I was talking to you, and you were like, I really like Skylar. I can't remember what happened. And I said, why is Bruce here? And Bruce is saying there's something common between him and Skylar, because I didn't know Skylar's last name. I was like, why does Bruce keep talking about something? Is Skylar's middle name Bruce or something? Because he keeps talking about him having the same name. And she goes, no, did he really? I'm like, yeah, like something about the 2 of them having the same name. Is it Skylar Bruce or something? She goes, no, his last name's Dixon.
Just spelled different. That is another big thing to me. So I'm like, okay, Bruce, my mom, and Cito. This is all 3 of you guys. Like,
I get the hint. I
And
get
his
the
dad.
hint.
And his dad, of course. Like, I feel like they just all work together.
Oh, his dad definitely. His dad's a hoot
Oh,
and a
him
half.
and my mom would have got along great. Like,
Oh, they do. They get along
I
fine.
bet they do.
It's so funny because when he passed, so I actually did a reading for Skylar's sister, Bethany. And she wanted to, I didn't know this, so I don't know anything before readings. Sorry, I'm going to talk about Skylar's.
No, you go ahead.
It was
That's
pretty cool. I don't know anything about anyone before. Like, I do most of my business through Messenger, so people will message me, but because of my business page, I made it so that I can't click on things. I don't
Right.
want to know. I don't have to know anything. I really don't. Heaven does all the work for me. They do all the heavy lifting. So his sister came in, and grandma, who else came through on your sisters? I don't remember because it was so long ago. I just remember grandma because of the picture with her little boy. Anyways, then she messaged me. God, it couldn't have been even 6 months. She messaged me after her reading and said, I need to schedule another reading. And instantly, I had a father figure come through. I was like, as I'm messaging her, which normally doesn't really happen. And I was like, what the heck? So I said, dude, did your dad graduate to heaven? And she was like, yes, how'd you know? I'm like, because he's here. And he is super, like, he's so fun. He is just like the funnest guy, happy-go-lucky, but he is so stubborn and very arrogant in a way.
No.
He's got like a very, not arrogant, but like, he knows he's the shit. Does that make any sense? Like, I don't know how to explain him, but his personality is just, I love him to pieces. So he came through. I did her reading. I had no idea that Skylar was Bethany's brother. So, and Jory brought Skylar to the bar because we like to go to the bar and dance every once in a while.
Yes.
And so Jory brought Skylar, and it was our first time meeting him. And I looked at Jory and I was all, does he have a father figure that's passed? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, because his dad's here. Anyways, and he
wanted to show up and shine.
Gangbusters, man. There was no door. He just kicked it down and waltzed right through.
That's what I tell him. I'm like, oh, my mom would have loved you. And he's like, my dad would have loved you. So we just know, like, our
I'm
parents.
like, oh, they do.
And they get to see everything from up there.
Oh, yeah.
Best seat in the house. That's what I always say.
So speaking of loving, okay, so my dad passed, right? And how Mike and I met, ironically, was at the bar. Mm-hmm. At the bullpen, he says he was standing in the old man's corner with his beer, and he asked me to dance. Anyways, I did not know that Mandy was his daughter. So I call him my husband, but he's my boyfriend. We've been together 8 years last month,
That's crazy.
26th of last month.
That's a long time.
And so, but I did not know his daughter, Mandy, had graduated to heaven before him. I wasn't really open to my gift at this point. Then I started figuring things out. Things started coming through. I talked to him. He was telling me about his daughter that had passed. And Mandy was the OG, like when it came to really helping me. But see, unlike you, Mike wasn't as open to it. So I needed validations from people at the beginning of my journey. I'm figuring this out. I needed validations to be validated. You were really good at that because you were more open to it, whereas Mike was kind of like, he was like, oh, okay, cool. But not like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's true. Or how'd you know that?
Like, okay.
He still, I'll give him a run for his, like his family will bring something up and he'll be like, no. And I'm like, really? That's not what your dad says. And he'll go, oh my gosh, no, you're right. This. And anyways, he still gets his little, but, yeah, she and my dad, and I knew it before I even knew that I was truly a medium. Like I knew I was a medium, but I didn't understand it. I knew that her and my dad were together and brought us together. Like I knew it's crazy how you just know. And I even one time when we first got together was walking around, how they have the walking path around the cemetery up on Jensen Hill.
Yep.
And I was walking because I didn't have a gym membership, and I was walking the walking path, and Mike had shown me a couple of weeks earlier where his daughter was buried up there. And I just kept having this pull every time I'd walk by it. And I was like, okay, I need to go sit and just tell Mandy thank you for. And I went and I sat down, and instantly she sat down next to me and she was like, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking care of my dad. And I was like, and I just started crying. And so I'm sitting at the cemetery and I'm bawling, and my dad's sitting on the other side, and he's like, we did it. And I'm like, I don't know. It was just like the craziest thing to know that these two souls, I don't have to say, oh, I bet my dad. No, I know. I know. Yeah, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, my dad loves Mike, and Mandy loves me, and I don't know. It's just crazy.
And then I could just always hear my mom. She'd be like, forget them. Next. She'd be like, time to move on.
She said that one time.
Yep. She'll be like, next. I always tell my cousin that because she's, she's single in the dating game. She'll tell me stuff and I'll be like, fuck him. Next. I said, that's what my mom would say. She would tell you.
And she did
next.
too.
She would say it at the top of her lungs.
Next.
Didn't
I say that one time? Or your mom told me to say that one time?
Next.
We were sitting there and I go, your mom looked at you and she says, oh, please, next. And you were like, holy.
Yep.
But that is so Jamie.
That's so my mom, 100%.
Yeah, it's too funny.
I will say the road I went down, when that 2.5 years I was single, I did learn a lot about myself. But I was also grieving. So I kind of went through that alone in a sense, I guess you could say. And I've it's good and it's bad because I'm to the point like I went through one of the worst parts of my life kind of by myself in that
Yeah.
sense that I didn't have somebody there 24/7 with me. That to me I can get through anything. I'm not the worst of the worst could come to me and I know I'm going to get through it. 100%.
Isn't that funny how that teaches us so much? Like in the moment, we're in the storm and we can't see why. Like we don't understand why. And then we get through the storm and we're like, oh my gosh,
Exactly.
the things I learned, the people I
About
met.
myself,
That
just about
yes.
myself. Like I learned so much about myself and like it's insane. I don't know. It's crazy. I look back and I'm like, holy crap. Before all that happened, I was so closed off to even know who I was as a
Yeah.
person. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. But I tell people everything happens for a reason. You're going through this for a reason. It's just another chapter in your book. Once you're going to get to where you need to be, because I never thought I was going to. I 100% never thought I'd be here, with Skylar. I never thought I would. I just didn't. I don't know.
I would love to have Mike come in here sometime because there was a point where he too. Sorry, I'm not meaning to overtalk
No,
your
you're
stuff.
good. I'm listening.
Where
Let's flow the conversation.
and I'll let him share the story about his daughter's passing and him wanting to just go home too. You know, he was going through a divorce. He had just lost his daughter. Life just seemed to be piling up one thing after another. And the way his daughter, one time when he was praying to her, not praying to her, but like praying, he was just going through it. And she's like, come on, Dad, you can do this. And basically picked him up, you know what I mean? And was like, we can do this. But just what he says all the time too, he goes, I'm so glad that things turned out the way they did. I was supposed to be where I am now. And my life, I can't imagine not having him, and for multiple reasons, right? Like, I'm super grateful that I have him because first off, I truly believe he's my soulmate. When you meet your soulmate, you just know. I don't, like, with Skylar, you just know. There's no conflict or trying to figure it out. Everything just kind of goes. But also, I would not be able to do my gift if I did not have him or have met him, because he was who I needed to be with in order for me to get to a place. And a lot of people, too, were like, oh, you're with him because he spoils you or he has money or blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, let me put this nicely. Are we poor? No, we're not poor. But do we have our own things? Yes. I mean, I've got kids that I help. I've got my mom that I help. We've got bills. We've got all of this stuff. But he was able to retire. And because he was able to retire, we were at a place where I could also not have to work and be home. And at first, I kind of had a hard time with it. Granted, I was only working like 8 to 12 hours a week.
Yeah.
Because I was like, anyways, I'd always been a stay-at-home mom. But anyways, I had a hard time with it because that was kind of my identity. You know what I mean? Like just getting out and doing something. And he's like, I'd really like for you to be home. So if we want to go, do something, we can just go do something. Well, little did I know I needed to be home. And everything just kind of fell into place. And I could not do a job and do readings. There's no way. I would not have some mediums doing readings doesn't affect them physically. Do we need to wrap it up? Okay. Some readings, it doesn't affect mediums physically. Others, it does. Me, I'm having to learn different ways of protecting myself. I went, protect yourself. Really? Hadn't thought of that. Yeah, I know that. Like, I know that. I have an amazing spirit team. I have spirit guides. I have prayer. I have light. I have all of these things. But still, energy affects me. And so I would not have been able to work and do
Girl,
this.
you would have been exhausted.
I
100
couldn't
times.
physically do it. I know
Oh
I
my
could
God.
not physically
Yeah.
do it. So everything worked out the way it was supposed to there. And we totally got off subject. So
We did, but
oh,
we
but
got into some relationship stuff and the holidays. I think it all intertwines. You know what I mean?
well, and honestly,
So it's fine. We're just bullshitting and going with the flow. It's
I'm like,
fine.
let's just go with it.
Yeah.
I love though the way that you manifest things at the holidays, and I know. I guess sometimes I always have guilt saying things like, oh, you need to do it this way, because I don't know what every single person is going through with every single loss. I have not experienced every loss. But I can come at it from heaven's side. So you come at it from the grieving person's side. I now would like to come at it from heaven's side.
Yeah.
So I guess, one of the things that I really wanted to touch on too is just how to know when they're trying to communicate with us, right? Like how to know if that really is them that's talking to us, if it's really our thoughts, or if it's our loved one sitting there trying to talk to us. And I think too many people get confused in the fact that heaven doesn't talk via our ears and words and mouths and
Because the other day, like I said, we were at the Cowboy Christmas and I saw that sign that I love you to the moon and back. And that's just me and Cito and my kids 100%. And I was like, I saw it and I showed Skylar and we went to the car and I was like, I need to go back and get that sign. Like it was blue
which
and it had the reading,
Cito.
which is Cito. So I know that was Cito 100% with the whole Christmas scene. Like, hey,
well, and it's
I'm
his way
here.
of being like, hey, well, and also, hey, mom, this is for you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I love you to the moon and back. You need that sign,
So
mom.
signs like that,
Yeah.
that was a huge sign. to
It's
me.
that prompting, that little nudge that, because I have a lot of people say, oh, well, when someone for you passes, it's going to be easy because you can see him and hear him. No, actually, mediums communicate with heaven the same way that we all do. The difference is, like, all of us, I tell people this all the time, all of us have been given the gift to be able to feel and talk to and know that our loved ones are there the same way I do. The difference between my gift and, let's say, yours, okay, because God gave us all this gift, is you can see, feel, and talk to your loved ones, okay? Skylar can see, feel, and talk to his loved ones. I can see, feel, and talk to my loved ones and your loved ones and Skylar's loved ones and Mike's loved ones. The difference is I can see and feel and talk to everybody's, whereas everyone can individually talk to their own family members. So a lot of people just want to know, well, how do I know if it's them or if it's my thoughts? Biggest thing. Well, two. Okay, one is going by feeling them and remind me of that, like how to know. The second one is if you're not thinking that thought and all of a sudden you have a thought pop into your head, that is them.
100%.
That is literally, they're going to get you when you are like, okay, for example, today I was sitting there. I did a reading for a beautiful woman that used to work out at the fairgrounds where we kept our horses, okay? Love her to pieces. And she and I became very, very close. And I ended up doing readings for her and her kids and stuff like that. Her mom passed and I ended up going and getting to talk to her mom before she passed and helping her graduate. And it was awesome. I love this lady to pieces. Anyways, I was sitting there. There's no offense to this. She knows she doesn't sit and think about me. I was sitting there doing my hair, and I have not talked to her in probably 6 weeks, right? And I was sitting there doing my hair this morning, and all of a sudden, and it was a very roundabout way it happened too. So her son and my daughter went to school together, and a song came on the radio that brought back a memory of my daughter on a field trip. And all of a sudden, I thought of this woman's son. And then I started thinking about the time I worked with him at Home Depot later on. And then it went to Rose, and who is the lady. And so then it went to Rose, and then it went to her mom. And her mom was standing there. By the time I got around all these other thoughts, but that's how Spirit brought her mother to my attention. Does that make any sense?
Yep, it just went
Because most mediums don't see things with their eyes. You go by feeling. So what will happen is they will draw forward the energy. And like you, if I'm having a thought about Sito, it's not that Sito pops in. It's that I'll get a thought about Jory, and then I'll get a thought about something specific, and then I realize I'm thinking about Jory out of nowhere, and then Sito will be like, it's me. I need you to call my mom. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so it was the same with Rose. So I was like, and her mother at this point is now standing there. And she's like, I need you to tell her that I love them. I need you to tell her that I love them. And I'm like, okay. So I put my flat iron down and I text Rose right away. Hey, just want you to know I love you and so does your mom. And she messaged back and she goes, that's funny. Crying last night, missing my mom. And I'm like, well, she knew that you needed to hear that she loves you. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's just crazy to me. I used to think it was my own thoughts for a long time till I started realizing that is how heaven works. Right there. Those random, quick thoughts, and some of them don't go away, like the thought to just message Skylar. And you're like, why do I keep feeling like you felt that way? Because heaven's like, do it. You know what I mean? And so it's
Like,
just
right
these subtle promptings
now.
until you don't listen. Then it's, if you don't pick up that phone, and you're like, okay.
Like I'm shying it off. I'm like, no,
And you
I'm
can't.
not going to message him.
It will not go away until you do it.
We're just sitting right
It just
My
hovers.
My coworker even said it doesn't hurt to just check on somebody and say hi.
No.
She's like, you're not hurting anything.
Well, okay, so
And I'm like, what if he doesn't respond? What if he doesn't want to talk to me?
What if he doesn't? But I tell you what, heaven's never wrong. So, and that's where I had to come to my consensus with what do I share and what do I not share? Heaven's never wrong. Heaven is never wrong. So, my daughter, one of her really, really good friends, they were roommates for a long time. His dad passed, and I did not know that she was going to see this young man later on in the day. And his dad had been passed for a while, about a year. And all of a sudden, I started thinking of my daughter, and then I started thinking of her living with her roommates, and then this particular roommate got brought to my mind. I was like, oh, his dad passed. I forgot about that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's right. I forgot his dad passed. And then there's his dad. And I'm like, oh, okay, what am I supposed to do here? What do you need me to do? And he was like, I need you to tell her to let my boys know, not my son, my boys know that I love them. And I was like, okay. So I texted my daughter. I said, hey, honey, I know so-and-so's dad passed. I don't know if you're going to see him, but will you just let him know that his dad says that he loves his boys very much? And she texted back and she goes, actually, I'm supposed to go meet with him and his brothers tonight.
Oh my gosh.
What are the
That's crazy.
freaking odds?
Yeah.
Like, how would I know? Well, she hadn't told me anything. And it wasn't just the one friend. It was all the boys and her. So all his sons and her were supposed to meet up. Now, did she? No, because she was worried he wouldn't take it the right way. And I understand where she's coming from. But for me, I have learned if we get out of the way of heaven and we let them do what they need to do, there are so many people that can be helped.
Exactly.
If you just stop getting in the way and letting your insecurities and your human side kick in and go, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say, or like I have a lot of people, well, I had a dream last night. Do I say something to so-and-so about their Yes, you do. Yes. If you felt that dream was for them, yes, you do. And don't worry about how it looks on you. I have to not worry. There are so many people, I'll be sitting there and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to message so-and-so. And I'll message. And every time, how did you know? I don't, but I listen to it. And that's the difference. I listen to it. So, that's how heaven communicates. It's just those subtle little things. So when you're sitting there at Christmas and you get that random flashback or that random thought, or you see something that you got for them as a gift years ago and you get that random memory, it's not random. That's how heaven communicates with us. That's literally how they're like, hey, it's me. I tell people this too. They don't have flesh and vocal cords. They can't walk up to you and be like, hey, it's me. and tap you on the shoulder. So what they have to do is they have to get your attention. And the way that they're going to do that is they're going to place a random thought, a random memory, a random object in your path, whatever it is that will alert you that they're there. And so that right there is how heaven communicates. People don't need a medium, but I will gladly be that medium for them. I love being a medium. I love sharing messages, but you can still know your loved ones are there without me having to tell you.
Yep.
Yeah. The other way that I like for people to recognize is, so, and this would be, I don't know, because I'm a mother and I carried 3 children in my womb. I know my children before I ever held them, right? People will say, well, yeah, you know them. They're in your womb. No, you don't understand. Touching a child is different than having one flutter in your gut. You know what I mean? And but I know their energy. When they're in my womb, I know their energy. I know that child before I ever touch it. Does that make any sense? And that's exactly how people need to recognize heaven. So too many times they'll be like, I felt them, but I think it's just because I wanted to feel them. No. You actually knew that energy before you ever touched it here on earth. You knew it in eternity before this life. And so you will know it by that energy for the rest of your life and the rest of eternity, because that's what you've known for eternity. Does that make sense? So people need to stop doubting the feeling, because that feeling, that energy, that gut feeling that you have, that is your loved one. You are going to feel them and their energy a lot more than you would even think, because it's such a second nature thing. The hard part is now their physical form is no longer here, right?
Right.
And so people say, well, why is it so hard? The reason grief is just shit, the reason it sucks, is because our souls know each other, okay? When you're wrapped in flesh, now your souls, it's kind of like when you haven't met your soulmate and then you meet them and you instantly know that energy, okay? Or you give birth to that child and you instantly know that child and you love them and you're like, oh, this child was always meant to be with me, you know? Or let's say you don't give birth, you adopt, and you're like, this baby was always supposed to be mine. Energy was just given a physical shell, okay? So now your physical being can physically have that energy that you've known forever with you, and it's tangible, because in earth life, everything is very tangible. We have to touch things. We have to see them. We have to hear them.
Right.
It's not so much emotion based. It's more so tangible. So why is grief so hard? Because now you have got to go back. It's kind of like there's a blinder between the two again, but it's something that you've had for eternity, that you've never been without. And you had it physically tangible, and now it's no longer tangible. So now you have to go back to knowing it energy again.
Right.
But you're still focused on flesh. So there's just that kind of, you have to get to know the energy again. You have to realize that they might not be here physically, but their physical form is such a small part of what they are as a whole. I mean, what we all are as a whole. So you have to pay attention to feeling. And when you feel that energy, and you'll know it's them because you'll feel them. I know my dad's energy. He can walk. I know my grandma's energy. I know, it's funny, the other day, I didn't know it was Sito because, again, I don't see things. But they sat down and I was like, oh my gosh, I bet you money this is Sito. I bet you money this is, because I knew his energy. Now, I didn't know Sito in life, but I knew his energy now. And it's the same thing with my best friend Janelle. I know her energy. I know when she walks into a room, this is her Spitfire self. Does that make sense? So you have to start to learn to recognize their energies. And that is how you're going to know that they're with you all the time, including the
Exactly.
holidays. Are you going to feel them all the time? No. If we felt our loved ones all the time, we wouldn't get anything accomplished.
Exactly.
We'd just sit there. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
and let it flow over us the whole time, and we wouldn't move. And I can vouch for that, because that's how I get when I go out in public. If I don't cut my gift off, I can't get anything done, because I've got everybody's energies coming at me, and I can't focus on what I'm supposed to do in the life I'm supposed to live.
Yep.
And so we're not going to feel them all the time.
Yeah.
We're only going to feel them sporadically, so that they will let us know that they're there. And now that I've talked for an hour and a half.
It's okay. But yeah, just to kind of end things, the holidays are tough. It's probably like the toughest part of grieving, I think. I mean, I think you grieve every day, but the holidays is when it's kind of more brought to light. But just like I said, I shared what I do, but even people can just, like, one thing I used to do that helped me is to journal, to write in a journal. Write your feelings, write how you're feeling, write, talk to them. That's something that I used to do, and that did help me. And I maybe should start doing that again. But I think writing down your feelings and what you're feeling at the moment, and just talk to them through it,
Yeah.
so that you can just at least get those feelings out. That helps a little bit. Get a Christmas ornament in memory of them or something, to have that every year with you also.
What do you do for Cito every year?
I don't even know if I have a memorial one yet, but that's something I've thought about. But like the other day when we were at the Cowboy Christmas, I found a butterfly one that I reminded me of my mom. So
I was
like,
going to
gotta
say
get this.
Janie.
Yeah, so we got that ornament, but just stuff like that. Maybe even make something but like I said, with me, I have my saying in the morning, and then take stuff out to his plot for the holidays, just to
love
kind of, that's kind of my thing, what I do. But yeah.
It's kind of your Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
This little gravesite is your Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and his dad does really good about keeping it up for the holidays and stuff.
Abe's
so
really
It
good.
always looks really good, So
It's
yeah.
always nice when one parent will take care of it. You know what I mean? Because then you don't have to stress about that,
And I'm thankful for that, because I couldn't be out there all the time doing that.
No,
Yeah,
I
don't think I could.
That's not the way you grieve.
Nope.
Other people grieve that way, and that's perfectly fine. But I can't see you hanging out at his gravesite often.
Once in a great while, I'll go out there, but it's not very often.
I can respect that, and I think that's great,
But
personally.
the holidays suck. It's okay to not be okay, but do your best to get through it. And I just mentioned some things to maybe try to help people through it, and do what works for you.
I think that's great. I appreciate you,
Save
Jory.
them a seat.
I love that.
100%.
I seriously love that.
Yep.
I kind of want a best seat in the house. That for me, I'm like,
Best seat
oh,
in the house.
I love
Save you a
that.
seat, and they got the best seat in the house. That's what my mind goes to. So
I think that's great.
my positive way of thinking about it.
I think you're doing great. Dang it.
Thanks.
Anyways, okay.
All right.
Well, that's it.
Yeah. Till next time.
Signing off.